Hello and welcome to our final day of fabulous fractions. I'm sure some of you feel devastated about that, whereas others are probably saying, yippee, hooray, fabulous fractions are over. So today we are thinking about equivalent fractions. Now they are fractions that have the same value, so they have the same value, but they may look different. And what I mean by that, I'll give you an example. So you could have something like a half and 2/4. They mean exactly the same thing. Now, some of you started to spot that already as some of the work we've been doing this week. Some of you spotted it yesterday when I asked about, could you find the one that meant the same as a half? So you circled the fraction that was 5/10, and that was the same as a half. So some of you are starting to find these things already, just naturally, because you're fraction king and queens now. So you're going to look through the attached PowerPoint I've put online on Showbie. That just gives you a little bit more explanation. And then I've got a worksheet for you to do, which again I've put on Showbie, but here it is here. It looks like this. If you complete this, just have a look. I mean, the first example here is a really good example that here you can see 3/12 is exactly the same as 1/4. You've got to imagine these as chocolate bars, and we've just chopped them up separately. So 3/12 is exactly the same as 1/4. Okay, so if you look at the next example, we've got 1/4. You've got to think, well, if I was colouring in the same amount over here, 1/4, how many would that be the same as? So you've got to count the number of pieces over this side, and that will give us our denominator. So over here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And how many pieces would be the same as 1/4? So you'd colour in 1, 2 for it to look the same. And so it would be 2/8. Exactly. So have a go at that one. Obviously, you'd have gone through the PowerPoint, which explains it a little bit more, but hopefully it's quite self-explanatory. You need to count up the number of pieces, the ones that aren't coloured in already, and that tells you your denominator, the number at the bottom. And then your numerator, you're just trying to work out how many bits you need to colour to make it look the same, and then you need to count them up. That's your first task. The next task is looking through your Mathletics fraction booklet. And there's a page in there. It is page 15. There's some equivalent fraction work to do there. And then finally, just to finish it off, there's a challenge for those of you who just want a little bit more. And it looks like this. I have scanned in a little bit of work, and it's actually very simple. It's really nice. If you would like to, and you've got time, because it might be that you whiz through this in a couple of minutes and you just think, oh, that was just too easy for me. I just want more. I want more fraction work. Well, here, this is your challenge. It tells you, again, the information at the top. It's exactly the same information. It tells you how you can find the equivalent fraction. And then all I want you to do is actually answer it on the sheet. We'd never write in a textbook at school, but I've scanned it in, so it's okay. So you don't need to write it in your books. You can do it directly on the piece of paper. Now, it does say things like, where is it? On one of the sheets. Oh, here, number 4. It says, oh, find the camera, Mrs. C. Where is it? Over here. It says, draw or trace both of these squares. You don't need to. You can do it straight onto it. So it says, in the first one, colour in 2 boxes. Well, you can just colour them directly onto there. Okay, so that's your challenge if you want to. And that is our final part of fractions and equivalent fractions. You start seeing patterns in things and start spotting that actually some fractions we can make simpler and make them smaller and make them easier to spot. So enjoy having a look at equivalent fractions. And next week we'll be doing something completely different. Okay?